So these dill plants have done as well and now flowered, and there's a lot of good seed which we can use in the kitchen and replant next year. I'm sure plenty of these have drops and will self-seed just here, but that's fine because we like a bit of dill, and then we don't have to plant it. We'll not take all of them because the birds need some, so that'll do for here. We had a couple of big celery plants here which flowered and have gone to seed, so I'm going to collect the seed again for the kitchen and replanting. The celery seeds are absolutely tiny.
Well, I planted this little climber called Love in a Puff, and it creates these little lanterns. So it's not physalis that you can eat, and it's not a Chinese lantern. It's called Love in a Puff. So it should climb to around 3 meters overall, but for this year, this is as good as it's getting. So the reason it's called Love in a Puff is because these are the little puffs that have seeds inside them, and that seed's not ripe, so I can't show you. Yes, here we go. Oh, wait for this. So they've got these little seeds, not so many. The seed is black with a little white heart. They almost look like somebody painted little hearts onto a black seed. Of course, they're not going to lie the way I want them to.
So I'm off to collect the chickpeas. We haven't got a big enough harvest to eat them. The chickpeas that I planted were supermarket chickpeas, and I don't know where they're grown, what conditions they're grown in, and so we didn't get very good germination or growth. So these seeds should be much better adjusted to our climate, our conditions and our soil. So we're going to save these, and hopefully we'll get much better germination and growth when we plant them next year. But inside each of these little dried pods should be a little chickpea. There we go. There is a chickpea. Right, I think I need the secateurs, and I'm going to cut these off and leave the roots in the ground, because the roots is where the nitrogen fixing goes on, and that will carry on going on even after all these are dead. It was a rather disappointing harvest, but there's enough to replant them next year, and hopefully we'll get much better germination and much better growth and a decent harvest, and I'll be able to have my hummus. So these are a bean, a bush bean. These are called Jacob's Castle Gold, and you can see why they're called Jacob's Castle Gold when I open the pod. And if you look at the bean, the pattern on the bean is the same as a Jacob's Castle. We've still got more beans to pick, but it's getting too hot to do it now. So we're going to take these back to the rental house, sort them out, clean them, pack them and put them away to replant next year.
The important thing about saving seeds is that it has to be done on a warm, sunny day. And that means we can't come out as early as we like. So we've had a few days of temperatures in the 40s, and we've seen the highest temperature we've seen at 44.7. We spent the entire day watching YouTubes and catching up on things that we've missed. But to be honest, it's been a tough week. You know, we're very grateful that we have a house to live in. We know that some people are living in less comfortable conditions, and it is tough. But anyway, today we're going to pick the beans. We've got two types here, two varieties. One is a black bean and the other is Dan's favourite bean, which is Gigantes. But he'll tell you all about that when we pick it. So they're nice and crispy. You hear the crack. I'm just going to put some into my hand. So they're a lovely shiny black bean. I'll put these in my pocket so they don't fall out of the basket.
These are a variety of bean called Giganti. It's a runner bean plant, but you don't eat the pods, you eat the beans inside. You let them develop to produce these large butter bean like beans, and they are great in a tomato, slow baked tomato and bean stew, which is known as Gigantes Palaki. We'll be making Gigantes Palaki later in the year. But for now, we've got to get picking.
There are 3 beans here that I planted a little bit later, and they've been growing along the ground. So the idea is to get a late crop in maybe October. And I'm just going to give this a little bit of help around this bamboo pole. But you have to remember that beans like to grow, well, these beans like to grow anti-clockwise. I remember telling somebody that, and they thought I was pulling their leg, but it is actually true. And if you look over here, you'll see all of the beans grow in an anti-clockwise direction. Do you think that's because we're in the northern hemisphere? So those of you watching from New Zealand and Australia, South Africa, and in South America, let us know if your beans grow clockwise or anti-clockwise. But definitely all of our beans grow anti-clockwise. You can try and make them grow clockwise, but they never grow that way. Well, here we are. Big basket of Gigantes, Cherokee Trail of Tears. And we're going to head home now, back to the house to do a bit of processing of these beans.
We get all these shelled, make sure they're properly dry,
and that there's no creatures running around in them.
and then we'll get them jarred.
So that's our afternoon job.
These beans are going to keep us fed all winter and into next summer.
Well, maybe not keep us fed. I hope we're eating
Well,
more
we'll
than
eat a bit more
beans.
than beans, but there'll be enough beans for us to eat.
So beans, the nicest thing about the beans is that they give so much. So these Cherokee Trail of Tears, You saw me picking them a while back when they were still fresh, like French beans.
Yeah.
And now that they're dry, I mean, there's nothing more to preserving them, only shelling them and putting them in a jar. But the extra thing about them is that they're also seeds for next year. And they're constantly giving nitrogen to the soil, fixing nitrogen.
Yeah.
So beans are probably one of the greatest things to grow.
One of the best crops that
Yeah.
we grow.
Yeah, and they're easy to grow.
Yeah, they're easy to grow, fast
They
growing.
don't need a lot of water.
Nope.
And they've done really well, and we've made that beanstalk, the bean frame, and it's survived 2 years with the bamboo from just right here. So it's been good.
So,
Right, back to the house we go. So we put these black-eyed beans in to give some shading and protection to the strawberries. However, it wasn't enough, and the strawberries are still not doing very well. So we're going to try moving the strawberries later, and probably just plant some more. But that's another learning experience. Too much sun, too exposed. Probably should cut that back, take some of that home, bush it out a bit because it'll probably suffer.
might have picked as many beans today as we did on the last picking.
Nearly done. Not nearly done, but nearly done with the black-eyed beans.